And we're live.
Hello and welcome to Capes and Commentaries, Episode 9. I'm Tyler. Nathan is here. And we are once again switching it up, but keeping it within the realms of Marvel animation so we can justify the whole Capes aspect here. Uh, we're doing our first episode of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. And I justify that not just with Marvel animation, but a Marvel comic book as well. So that, to me, it makes sense.
Oh no, I mean it does, and the episode that we're discussing today is Funhouse. So Tyler, you're the one that picked the episode. Kind of let's get inside your brain. Why this episode?
It's my favorite episode of G.I. Joe. It has
This is
been
like
since I
all
was a kid.
time.
All time. Me and my brother
Okay.
both have always felt that the Funhouse was our favorite episode to watch when it would come on in syndication. Like we would get very excited when the Funhouse came on. Um, you think an episode that's based around, you know, a lot of would be considered probably goofy traps and you know plot devices used by Cobra Commander for his amusement, but he is ultimately trying to kill the Joe team. Would be silly, but I found it to be extremely entertaining as a kid. A lot of cool images and something that could be really, really silly. Uh, I still to this day I have a blast watching. I mean, there's a lot of great GI Joe episodes, but I think from nostalgia plus it's an episode that still to me holds up. Because I want to ask what you think. You probably I was wondering too, like if after you watch, like why the hell did Tyler pick this episode as our first Joe episode? But I love it. It's fun. The characters are portrayed, and plus it's a Flint episode. As a kid, me and my brother both liked Flint based episodes as opposed to Duke. Flint was cooler. He was a Green Beret. It just Duke to me, I just didn't like him as the Joe leader. So a lot of times you'd have episodes where Flint's leading a team, other episodes where Duke leading a team, and the Flint based episodes were always mine and my brother's favorites.
I mean, after I watched it, I was kind of I was slightly baffled. I'm like, well, why did Tyler pick this one? But no, you're right. Like it's a lot of fun to watch, especially now as an adult. Like, yeah, I guess some people could be like, silly elements or whatever, but it's entertaining, and that's the entire point of a cartoon, to entertain all ages.
It is. I mean, there's the the like one of the creepiest things that me and my brother both felt too was when Dusty pops the balloon and the hallucinogen busts in his face,
The
and airtight.
LSD.
Yeah, and then airtight turns into Cobra Commander, and then his hands and face burst into snakes, which was a creepy image as a kid to see like Dusty freak out and snap, and it was just kind of a creepy visual. And I loved Alpine and Bazooka in this episode. Alpine, I think, steals the episode. And then Flint, being the alpha male that he is, comes down to him. It's this kind of 10 little Indians throughout, Cobra's castle. And Cobra Commander is just fun to watch in this episode. Zartan has got a good uh, spot in the show. It's a fun episode, but I could see why if people, anytime I've mentioned this to Joe fans, they say they like the Funhouse. But I could see it, and I'm not knee deep in the Joe community, so I have no idea if this episode is celebrated, if it's looked upon as like a guilty pleasure, or if it's universally loved by Joe fans. I have no idea in that. So, um,
Well,
but I just thought,
speaking in terms of GI Joe, obviously you've seen the collection that I had as a kid, and I feel bad to say that now when I was watching that episode because I have not watched GI Joe in a very long time. I'm seeing all these characters, and some names are coming to mind, and I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And I'm like, Tyler's gonna be so mad at me when
well,
we
no,
watch
no.
this.
See, that's the thing. When you and I were coming of age to watch GI Joe, they had moved on to the Deke series, which was pushing a lot of the like 89 and 90s GI Joe, and they were still playing the Marvel animated GI Joe in syndication. So it was being mixed up. So you're watching the old roster and the new roster a lot, and we couldn't get a lot of those figures in the stores by that point. We're getting what's currently available, so it was extremely hard to. I mean, hell, I think I had very few of the old 80s GI Joe, and I got them as like trades from one of my mom's best friends. Her daughter loved GI Joe, so I got Xander and Snow Serpent from her because she had doubles,
Yeah.
and that was the only way I could get any of the old stuff. And it was just strictly getting, you know, and then I stole Cobra Commander from the '87 wave that was in the D cartoon from Church.
Wait,
I
wait,
didn't.
wait,
I
wait.
was told it was okay to take him
Yeah,
by
but you
what.
just said that you stole it.
Well, and because that's what looking back at it, that's what it was. But I was told by one of my classmates in Sunday school who was a Joe fanatic. He said, "No, dude, you can go ahead and take that." Because I would come in and play with him. Because in Sunday school, before you had class, they had a room of toys you could play in. So they had a Cobra Hiss tank and the '87 Cobra Commander, which is the metal outfit, which is what he would use in the Deke series to kick off that series, is to to tie in the '87 movie, and when he becomes a snake. And I liked playing with it a lot. I didn't have a Cobra Commander, and Travis told me that they're not gonna mind, man, if you take that. And
I
I'm
feel like
surprised he
I
didn't.
kind of feel like he was lying to you a little bit.
Obviously, he probably was, but it was Sunday school, So, and oddly, I'm stealing in church,
Man, you're
but it
going to
was a
hell. You're
toy
going to
that
hell, man. You're going to
yeah,
hell.
yeah. I'll have to ask my. And I did swap GI Joe cards with my brother too to get his Cobra Commander. And didn't tell him about it 2 years later. That was another thing I did. Was he when I confessed to him, he likes to remind me of what a rotten brother I was because I swapped cards on
Well,
him
I mean,
and didn't
between
tell him.
that and leaving him behind to get eaten by dogs and all the
Yeah.
other terrible things you did to him as a kid.
Well, he did his fair share of rotten stuff to me too, so he's not absolved from, you know. But we were really good brothers though, overall. Like we were not like rambunctious kids or anything like that. We did have a few incidents as two boys would be, but GI Joe was a big prominent thing in our house for years to come. And watching the cartoon, me and my brother both would collect GI Joe when I was in high school and he was in middle school. We're chasing down Joes at Happy's Flea Market and anywhere we could get them. Toys R
I,
Us was re-releasing them.
yeah, I remember all the time because my mom was having to run errands and taking her mother like to the doctor and everything. We were always kind of going to the pharmacy between everybody and my mom shuffling and driving everybody around. And every time we went in, I had to go because pharmacies back then, man, that was kind of like at least around me, like all the stores near me, it seemed like no one was buying it. So I had them all, man. Like I would just walk in and be like, I need this one, I need this one, and that was kind of that was my main place of buying Joe's. It wasn't at like Walmart or Hills or anything like that. It was pretty much all the pharmacies. Between that and then my parents would go yard selling every weekend from spring through the summer, and that's how I accumulated some of those older Joes. Is just the yard sale because, like you said, most of the stuff that was out in stores was the '89, like the '90 of the newer
It's
Joes.
the new roster of characters that was constantly coming out were readily available. You didn't see very rarely. I do remember as a kid at Hill seeing the Cobra Law 3-pack that had Galopulus, Nemesis Enforcer, and the Royal Guard. I saw that in Charlotte for the first time in over 30 years, and it was in mint condition, mint on card, all three figures. Oh my god, it was
How much was it
unbelievable.
now?
I I remember it was an ungodly amount, and I'm like, I can't argue that because finding those multi packs is very hard. But I just didn't see a whole lot of that stuff, even though I knew those characters were around. So I would just kind of accept whatever was available,
Yeah.
from 88, 89, and then the Deke series, which had, the new Cobra Commander look, had Metalhead, the Night Creepers, people like Captain Gridiron, Heavy Duty, Topside, stuff like that. You would buy the figures that came with the rings, or even in the late 80s, they have the little small figures. It was like a bonus mini figure that came on like a little stand. It couldn't move, but you'd have Destro, Quick Kick, Wetsuit, Cobra Commander, Cobra Trooper, Major Blood. Do you remember the small little pack-in figures? I think it was an 88, 89. It was just,
It's vaguely familiar. The
I
one
think if
thing
I showed you a picture, you probably remember
I
getting some of them.
probably would, yeah. I
Yeah.
think one of the ones that really stuck out to me is some of the ones that had the packs on them that actually like made the noise.
The
Had the
Sonic
buttons.
Fighters. Oh
Yeah,
my God,
yeah.
yeah. I remember, and that's at least at that time too. GI Joe was still prominent in toy commercials because you'd still see commercials for, the Hammerhead or the Sonic Fighters or the Ninja Force. So the Sonic Fighters. I remember getting one of those. I got Tunnel Rat for my birthday from my babysitter one year. And I played the hell out of that backpack because you could put that backpack on anybody, and that's what made it so cool. Is you wouldn't have to keep it on Tunnel Rat.
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
sweet.
you're just throwing out all these names, and like some of them stick, and some of them I'm just like, oh God, I don't remember who that is. I feel
Well,
so bad about that, but
I mean, it's when we watched Funhouse. Like, do you recognize Flint, Lady Jaye, Snake Eyes, Gung Ho,
yeah. Well,
Bazooka
I
Doe?
mean, for the 2 seconds that Snake Eyes is in there.
Yeah, it's a brief cameo, but you can never forget when Snake Eyes pops up, even though he's not used as prominently in the show as he would be in the comic book series because he's a mute character.
Yeah.
But I mean, like with the villains, like Zartan, the Baroness.
Yeah, I mean, like all those guys. It's just some of those other ones that would pop up, and I'm like, "Hi, what is your
Well, I
name?"
mean, there
I
are
don't
some
remember.
joke characters. Like to me, like Airtight was. I mean, he's fine in it, but he's not a top tier character. Like that I would see Alpine and Bazooka or Gung Ho in the show. You got Zap, who was one of the very first GI Joe characters. He's in there. I think Scarlet, makes a brief cameo. I think towards the end. Hell, I can't remember. It's been a little while since I've watched it, but this is I know it pretty well this episode. So
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the show. Now I can get reacquainted with GI Joe.
Yeah, so we'll go down memory lane here, and if you're, I'm watching the DVD.
I'm watching the link that is posted in the description. So JSP is here. Just click down below and click that link and get it all set up, and yeah, we'll fire it up. I need to get those DVDs. I'm planning on doing that pretty soon.
Yeah, there's one or two volumes is a little bit more expensive than the others because I don't have a complete set either. I just kept postponing it.
Well, I mean, you can get the complete series now on Amazon for like $50. So that's
I got 3 of the volumes already.
Yeah, so you're just what, missing?
Yeah, well, I'm missing. I think most. Well, I got 3 volumes over there. I mean, if I came down to it with a decent deal, I probably would just rebuy the whole thing. That way, I've got them all. And if I got a few extras, so be it. I'm not going to worry about that double dipping a little bit. But I'll count down from 3, and we'll all hit play together.
All right.
3, 2, 1, play. Another classic intro.
Yeah, all these shows, man, they got those intros right.
God, just beautiful animation. The opening sequences. It's such a great thing. Oh, Quick Kick and Snake Eyes. Now that's a solo series in itself. I mean, seeing Bazooka and Alpine, Destro. I mean, it's Zartan. There's oh God, I'm trying to name all for the names, and I'm moving too fast here. You got Roadblock and Shipwreck and the Shark, and there's Dusty and Stalker.
There might be a different intro going on here between what I have and what you got.
Well, I know they would switch up intros a lot. I mean, because there would be certain ones that you would see in syndication, and I'm watching on the DVD, and this was an intro I don't recall seeing as much as a kid because there were so many intros. They would change it up quite a bit.
So we'll just say all the intros are fantastic.
They all kick ass. And here is the title card. The Funhouse with Zartan on his swamp skier here, using what he came with.
Zartan's just got a really cool look to him.
Yeah, he's always been my brother's favorite character. And I never could quite make out as a kid like what he could do or everything because I didn't have the toy. It was just based on what I would see him in the cartoons, and he'd be a master of disguise a lot, and the whole kind of turning invisibility and the camouflage effect and things like that. I never quite grasped as a kid. So it's just seeing him as a mercenary with the dreadnoughts, which is what he is. And he has such a cool voice too. Like even though he's human, it's such a menacing, badass voice. I mean, the guy just reeks of evil just looking at him.
For some reason, he kind of reminds me of like a pro wrestler, and I can't place who. Excuse me, that he reminds me of.
I see what you're talking about. There's a certain look, I can't place it either, of an 80s.
It kind of looks like early Ultimate Warrior Sting when they were in that Blade Runners tag team or something.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely Warrior. There's Bazooka and Alpine. Baseball cards. I like Bazooka and Alpine. They're such a great tag team. And Flint, here's Breaker. And as a kid, as Cobra Commander shows up in his mask here, I always preferred the metal mask as a kid.
I did too.
And but as an adult, God, I love them both. I absolutely love the hooded look. But the metal mask to me was just so much more menacing to me as a kid, not being able to see his face.
Yeah. I remember.
Of course, you still can't see it anyway with the hood on. But
do you remember when they came out with like the taller old style G.I. Joe?
The Hall of Fame G.I. Joe?
Yeah. Oh, man. I got like Destro, and I'm like, I'm going to take off I'm going to see what he looks like. It was so
Yeah, I
cool.
remember a guy at school had it, and he brought it, showed me like, that's it.
Yeah,
Like just
yeah,
a
it's
blonde
pretty
haired guy.
disappointing.
It was
Yeah,
so underwhelming. And then Derek got Cobra Commander for Christmas. I got Snake Eyes, and you can't. Cobra Commander's got a black crew cut with his face covered up, and then Snake
yeah,
Eyes has got most of his face with blonde eyebrows. I'm like, son of a bitch.
yeah. Now, in that set, it was just Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, Destro, and
Duke and
Storm.
I think Dexter came in the. Oh no, wait. Because I remember there was quite a few of them. There was Duke, Stalker, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, and Destro all together. And I remember, I think that was one of the gimmicks of that line was the commercial showed that you could remove their masks,
Yeah,
and that was one of the
I got
big.
them all for Christmas, like the entire Hall of Fame set.
They were great, but as for like playability, like they were just too
Yeah,
big for me to
yeah,
play
no,
with. Like
they were cool for just like displaying,
display,
which is what I
yeah.
did. Yeah,
And I will say, like GI Joes as a kid, I played with them the longest. I started collecting He-Man at an early age, but I continued to play with GI Joe because of that 3 3/4
yeah,
pocket size, where you could, I mean, pile up your parents' bed comforter and make it a mountain terrain, or use blocks that my babysitter had, build a fortress for the GI Joes to break into to stop Cobra from something. It was the playability of GI Joe is absolute perfection. I mean, it really is. All
and
the
they were
cool
pretty
vehicles and
durable
stuff.
too.
They were, but I still try to take pretty good care of them because I
Yeah,
was
same here.
not a yeah. And all these vehicles here that we're seeing, like the whale, and I forget the name of that particular, the Cobra Hiss, all this stuff was just like, oh man, I wish I had all these as a
Yeah,
kid. Just
I didn't have that many of the vehicles. I remember wanting like the ship, like the giant carrier.
all the flag.
Yeah. And my dad basically just went and kind of just bought like a cheap version. But like I just, and of course I get an ad that pops up because go figure. So now I'm gonna
I'll
be
pause it for a second.
I'll be slightly behind.
Well, just tell me when it's coming back, and I'll pause it or unpause it as we're going along here.
Well, see,
Um,
I skimmed through the entire thing just so it wouldn't do this, but I guess here we are. All right, we're back.
okay. I always wanted the GI Joe air shuttle, the Defiant, I think it's what it's called. God, why
Yeah,
can't I? That's
I'm
always been
pretty.
my
Yeah, I
favorite
want to.
playset.
Yeah,
That one, because I remember seeing that in catalogs as a kid. I'm like, oh my god, like the catalog pictures itself looked. It blew my mind to see that. I mean, I hadn't seen the Terrordrome or any of the other previous play sets prior to that point. That the Defiant was such an impressionable play set. In terms of vehicles, I had the Ice Saber that I got for a Christmas present from my grandparents, and I picked up a rocket pack at Hills one time that had Crystal Ball on the box. I thought, oh man, it comes with Crystal Ball. It didn't come with anybody. That was just that was one of those things too, that you wanted a vehicle that came with a figure. It was a nice touch, but it didn't happen a whole lot for me, unfortunately. It was just getting my fix from watching the cartoon so much, and definitely had more of the figures than anything else. And one thing I always liked about Cobra's hideouts is the use of temples and castles that you would see in so many episodes. It looks so awesome to know that they're just finding hideouts in like abandoned castles and temples, or they're taking time to build, like Cobra Commander spending millions of dollars of building these giant monumental headquarters all over the world.
and they just keep all getting blown up.
They all get destroyed. Magnetic field. I love Chris Latta's laugh as Cobra Commander here coming up right here. This is great. And then these bumpers, that particular voice, G.I. Joe. Great memories. I hated commercial breaks as a kid. God, it pissed me off so much. Even with episodes, you knew how they were going on. Like when this would come on, or the movie would get played in intervals on TV. I just like this whole setup too. This team being broken down into pairs of three that they got to get through Cobra's Funhouse, which is not really a fun house, but it's got definitely a
Choose a
carnival.
door.
Yeah, three choices. And villains of the '80s in the cartoons. I mean, Cobra Commander clearly is a villain who's got a tremendous ego. I mean, he doesn't get captured much throughout the series. He always avoids capture. You see, to me, it's plausible that, he's got an ungodly amount of money that he's managed to equip and align himself with Destro as his weapon specialist. Hiring mercenaries like Zartan and the Dreadnoks. That this guy could afford to set up a place to deliberately watch lure Joes and pick them off one by one for his amusement because he can do it financially, and clearly he's got the means and the men to back him up. And
The
those are some of the
animation
best
in this
villains.
show is like vastly superior almost to a lot of the things that were coming out around this
Oh, it's
time.
very sharp, very clear, a lot of detail. I mean, as we're getting ready to see here with when Dusty has this unfortunate accident, Airtight's face, boom. Oh man,
And this
yeah,
is
this was.
probably like the coolest part of the episode to
It
me
is.
and
It's the
you.
creepiest by far. Um, oh,
Yeah.
that's badass, man. Just see him just snap, and then
I'll
you
pro
feel for Airtight. As these two guys are teamed up and having to take out your partner like that.
Yep.
It's great. It's great character development in a very short episode. It's a great character trait. Just take him and just leave them because you can't obviously kill off any of these guys, but still, it's this Bazooka laughing. It's like he's kind of and yes, I bitch a lot about comedy and stuff, but some stuff I feel like what it works, and some episodes of GI Joe are less than desirable, and we won't get into those today. But I find everything in this episode works because I like Alpine and Bazooka so much. Getting on this voluntary
And
like
then
the
there's Snake Eyes for a
yeah
brief period of
yeah
time
and
because I
Scarlet.
saw him. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I like his appearance in Cobra's Creatures. That was one I liked a lot as a kid when him and Spirit have to break into Cobra's fortress towards the end of that episode. That was always a fun episode for me. You'll have to watch that one sometime.
I feel like
Like him
Snake
just
Eyes is just like everyone's favorite character.
he is, and I almost feel like I'm sure for Joe fans, like really hardcore fans who know it so well. I mean, they probably get tired. Of, oh, everybody likes Snake Eyes, but but I naturally grew to like Snake Eyes. I didn't have any influence on me as a kid. I'm like, no, I like Snake Eyes, but I liked Flint a whole hell of a lot. I loved anybody who worked for Cobra. To me was cool. Like there was not a single person who worked for Cobra that I didn't think was a badass as a kid. From the various Vipers and different troopers they had, the Range Viper's always been my favorite trooper of all the various troopers and Vipers that Cobra's had over the years. The Range Viper that came out in I think 1990 was always been my favorite. And this
Wonder
is a
if
fun, Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna pay attention to the credits, see if Larry had any involvement in this one
I'm
as
pretty
well.
sure because he came on as a director for GI Joe for quite a while too, and directed a lot of the episodes. And as we all know, he did the opening title sequence for the movie that I still enjoy. I don't take it as canon because of all the kind of super sci-fi fantasy elements that are. I like to think of Cobra Commander as being a used car salesman that used manipulation and heavy finances to build his empire. That's done in the comic books, as opposed to the. I did buy it as a kid for a while. Then when you learn what went on in the comic books, which is more a mature canon, because the comic books were all pretty serious. People died in the comics. And if Chris Latta's Cobra Commander wasn't as lovable and enjoyable, everything we're seeing here probably could be taken down several notches in terms of like enjoyment and whether it holds up. But all these voices were so great that, I mean, I've heard a few other Cobra Commander voices from other later incarnations, and I'm like, it's as forgettable as a fart from last Tuesday.
Hey man,
You know,
I remember all the farts that I passed last Tuesday.
well, I guess yours are a lot more memorable than mine and most people's. I guess because you eat more Wendy's and pineapple and stuff like that.
What a
And I did
reference.
think, yeah, Wendy's and pineapples. And Lady J, I always liked her. The women in the show, like Scarlet and Lady J and CoverGirl, they were always very well portrayed. I like Lady J a lot, even though I wasn't attracted to her because she had short hair, and to me as a kid, you had to have long hair for me to be attracted to her. But I always liked Lady Jaye because she was such a cool character.
Yeah,
Lady
there
Jaye,
just
yeah.
all around, just lots of badass women in
Mm-hmm.
like animation, and I'm thinking like Ripley and shit like that in the movies.
Yeah, you had Sarah Connor and I mean Tila. As much as I like to gripe about her and her sandy vagina, and various other, Chitara. A lot of great, female characters were in the show. And GI Joe, they had many strong. I mean, you had Baroness and Zorana too, with Cobra. I mean, so it was. They didn't shy away. Obviously, toy wise, they probably weren't as popular, unless from a collector standpoint, the girls always cost a little bit more in terms of collectability and stuff like that. But it's such GI Joe is just grown to such legendary fanfare. I mean, from how deep the line is, and it's cool that Hasbro over the years has done like the collector's line too, where they go back and remake a lot of the lower tier characters. Some of my personal favorites like Slice and Dice and Big Boa and things like that. Um, but yeah, with Flint being the last one, running around a castle, taking out Cobra drones, and it's just awesome, just badass. And it's just really cool to see a commando running around in an old castle temple taking out Cobra troopers. Like, this will make a great movie,
Yeah.
And we won't speak about this piece of shit films that have been dumped on us with the name GI Joe slapped on it. But
Yeah, I was gonna kind of ask you a little bit about those,
it's
but
it just when you watch this, and you don't have to like the episode, but the visuals of a Green Beret running around the castle with a laser pistol, shooting down soldiers that resemble the dictator because he's such a egomaniac.
you wonder
With
just
the
what exactly was going through their heads and why all went so wrong when it came to the
the
films.
movie, yeah, like God, man, what the hell were you people thinking? I mean, from the people who greenlit the ideas to Steven Summers to the casting, everything. I mean, it was still to this day one of the angriest moments I've ever come out of a movie theater was after me, and Keith saw that film.
I could only
Jesus
just
Christ, man!
laugh. That's all
I
I
wish
could
I
do.
could have. I just because I hold this property is near and dear to my heart. Up there with He-Man, Thundercats, and Turtles. And to see, and I used to visualize what a movie would look like for years as a kid, just alive, like Snake Eyes sneaking outside a fortress and roundhouse kicking various troopers, trying to sneak in and steal something from Cobra, or just so many great ideas, so many great characters and visuals, and just looking at these characters, you feel like you could come up with so many great ideas for a film. And man, they and I wasn't going to see Retaliation. There's no way they couldn't have paid me to see that movie.
I've only
So
watched like the beginning of it. It was definitely going in a better direction, at least over the first one, but that's not saying a whole lot.
yeah, which is what I heard, and I'm like, you guys can say whatever you want. Like, they kill off Channing Tatum, which is great, but I'm still not spending money to watch the rest of the film. I'm just not going to. You know, it just felt like it was like too little, too late when you're trying to, like, oh yeah, we really screwed up with the first film. Let's give people what they're familiar with, you know, and not make sure we include Brendan Fraser running around going whoa the whole time just because I was in the Mummy films with Stephen Summers.
Dude's got to get a paycheck.
Yeah, but there are so much more respectable ways to get a paycheck of that guys.
Yep. Do it. Do another Encino Man.
Yeah, why the hell? Yeah, why do you make like Journey to the
Actually,
Center of
I
Earth?
don't I don't want a sequel anymore. It'd probably be
I don't
terrible.
want to either. I just felt like, you know what, at this point, no, it'd be god awful. And I'm not a fan of them making movies for movies that are like 20, 30 years old just because they felt like, oh, there's a lot of fan demand for this film. We should make a sequel. To like, no, because you'll screw it up.
Yep. Just give me a Blu-ray with a retrospective special feature, and we'll call it a day.
Yes. There's rock and roll in the background. I just find myself just kind of watching it here, not not saying a great deal.
Oh no, yeah, dude.
But I do like how they make sure that everybody gets out. You know, there's no links to any of the characters dying and stuff like
Well,
that. And
yeah, they weren't gonna do
yeah,
that
and
anyway.
even as a kid, when you would see the Cobra Rattlers get shot down, and the troopers would be parachuting out and stuff like that, you just as a kid you just wanted to kind of believe at times that because look, kids of the '80s, you see rated R movies like Predator, Commando, Rambo, Invasion USA, you see that the bad guys all get shot up, you know, and you just constantly look for. At least I did a lot when watching GI Joe. If anybody bit the bullet, and and I think there's been a couple of slip ups here and there on occasion where you could probably believe that a Cobra Trooper or a Viper bit the dust. I like the mushroom explosion of the island, just what the
Yeah, no,
magnitude of.
that's beautiful animation right
Yeah,
there. It's just
very
like a
epic
very
and
cool visual.
yeah, just adds an extra level of scale to the magnitude of Cobra's forces. Like to have that kind of firepower and explosions on hand at a disposable hideout, in South America. And he's already at another one that's just as luxurious. God, I love that about Cobra Commander, man.
Yeah, it's on to the next one. Abandoned ship.
All the time. Like the Crimson Guard. See, there's just so many great uh variations of troopers that Cobra has. The Vipers, the Troopers, the Crimson Guard,
Now,
Laser Viper.
did you ever buy multiples to army build?
I always wanted to. I really did, but it's when I would get any kind of Viper, like and this is what I had was as we're getting into the '90s when the Deke series started, was like the Range Viper, which I made sure I had to have the Rock Viper, the Night Creeper, the Laser Viper, Undertow. I only had ones, but I would have loved to have gotten multiples, and I not once did I ever have any member of Cobra that I could have like an army builder. I would always have to have my choice of Joe punch this Viper out or punch, and then you have to bring it back up and pretend like it's another one coming at him here. So you had
Didn't
to
it
just
suck?
constantly recycle the
Like
same one.
all of these shows that we've been watching, it's just like all those army builders we could have had as a kid, but our parents are just like, "Why do I need to buy you
They
more?"
don't get
Yeah,
parents never got it, and I'm kind of surprised, dude, that a lot of toy lines back, especially GI Joe, didn't sell multi packs of Vipers.
that would have been the
Like they
smart
didn't.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to see that in store, where I get 3 Crimson Guard. Whoa, absolutely 3 Range Vipers. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I wish they
So
would have done
I'm
that with the foot soldiers as well. That would have been
yeah,
awesome.
and so many toy lines. Yeah, with the foot soldiers, the horde troopers. I mean, so many toy lines have army builders, and Star Wars is another one. But the multi packs were not offered until the late '90s when they're targeting towards adult collectors. Yeah, because when you're playing with GI Joes, you want to kind of get everybody set up in their proper positions there. So to have like a whole like 5 or 6 Vipers set up on your bed comforter, hiding in the crevices, and you got your Snake Eyes or your Flint going up there, and oh man, here they are, we're under attack. Just very precise toy playing, man. That's how my days at playing with GI Joes were. I can't believe it. I didn't even touch on Alpine's American Express reference at the beginning of the episode, which I loved his animation. We were talking so much about everything else except a lot of what was going on in there. And that was one of my favorite shots too. And holds out the American Express card, and the Cobra Commander screams at him. Just,
Yeah.
which that was a gimmick that was ran into the dirt for years and years and
Yeah.
years. But it was
Yeah.
just funny to watch Alpine do it because how he's animated as being like this suave guy. I got it, guys. Because he's such a likable character. And that's going to wrap up the Funhouse here.
I do like that bit at the end where Flint's just like, yeah, I gotta ha ha ha. No one else can have you but me.
Yeah, which I like that Flint's the alpha male. Like, you're not going to take my woman. Like you guys can eyeball her all you want, but she's going home with me. I would see the sequences and like, what's that episode? What's that episode? Oh, the Storm Shot. I want to see that episode. I've since seen all these episodes that you see at the end of this year, but as a kid, it was they only had certain episodes on VHS, so you had to either go with what was available or what you happened to catch on TV. And God, it would be years later before I'd catch a lot of the episodes because they just didn't play all of them. At least I could never really catch a whole, every single episode because they would mix it up with the '90s series as well. When the USA Cartoon Express. That's what I used to watch them a lot on school weekday mornings before school, or if we were out of school, stay and just watch G.I. Joe uninterrupted, not have to worry about going to school. But that's how me and my brother would catch a lot of the episodes in syndication.
Yeah, same here. Between that and then I rented the movie quite a bit as a kid.
Because the VHS box was cool because they had like that checklist back. They had like Pythona and Serpentor and various characters on the back. It just looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
Or when they played on TV, they'd have those introductions by Sergeant Slaughter at the beginning and the end
Yeah,
of each
I
episode.
like those.
That was awesome.
I like those a lot.
I love that so much because as a kid, they would just play the intro, and you know what you were getting. And then when Sergeant Slaughter popped up, like, oh, man, we're getting the movie. But then the movie was broken up, and you'd have to watch the second part the next day. And you're like, damn it.
I remember going into the store and seeing Sergeant Slaughter and just lost my mind. Because I was like, oh, yeah, finally.
So did you get him with the Triple T, the vehicle he came with? Is that how you got started?
Yeah.
Oh, man, God. I don't know what I would have done had I come across that as a kid, because I so desperately wanted Sergeant Slaughter. And I knew Sergeant Slaughter from G.I. Joe first than I did with wrestling.
Yeah, same here. And it got kind of confusing there at the time, because he won the title and he was a heel. And I was like, I felt so conflicted during that time.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, now he's fighting Hogan. He's an Iraqi sympathizer, and like, what the hell's going on here?
What a terrible idea.
Yeah, but God, it got him heat, man. I think it was a great idea because he was so villainous. And
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, as a little kid, I was like, no, because I'm thinking about
it. It didn't deter me from watching the movie and stuff like that too. Like when I would see that, it didn't keep me from still enjoying the movie when it would come on and see the introductions and closings were, we're going to get Cobra in this episode, or just watching be a badass with him and the Renegades with Mercer, Taurus, and Red Dog, which those guys I wanted to. I remember seeing them at Hills too, that 3-pack of the Renegades that Sergeant Slaughter trains. And I remember going specifically after Mercer at Happy's Flea Market when I was in high school. That was something I remember. I talked to the guys like, you got a Mercer? I think I got one back in there somewhere. And then I started digging around. And he's like, did you find him? Like, yeah, I got him. He came with this file card and everything. I was so pumped to have Mercer.
Those file cards, I would cut them out, and I still have it. I need to.
You still got a bunch of those in that collector case from the '90s that you got.
Yeah,
that have all your Joes packed in there, man.
Yeah, so I need to. I think they're still all at my parents' house. I need to go dig those out. That way, I can maybe do a little show and tell one day.
At least like a choice few of some of the stuff too. Like I don't have enough room. I mean, God, I feel like I still got too much stuff in my place on display. I almost feel like kind of downsizing a little bit more, just because it just you think you could do a little bit better and less clutter and less this, less that, make it look a little bit more concise and because it's really, I mean, for the stuff that you've got that's not in your house, the stuff that I've got that I don't have room to display, you need a full scale house.
Yeah, I need to get like a mansion or something, man.
Because I always want to display this stuff like in the finest, presentation. You don't want to look sloppy or lazy and things like that. And
I need to get my battery powered Batmobile from a kid and just find a way. If I ever get like a big ass house, I'm gonna get that and somehow like mount it like angled on the wall or something. I don't know. Man, I love that.
Make a great display piece, regardless.
I only rode that thing outside like once or twice. I was like, I don't want. I was like, I don't want to mess it up. That was my whole thing as a kid, and you were like mostly the same way with my action figures and everything. I would play with them, but I'm like, I don't want to mess them up. I don't want to get like paint.
Oh no, I didn't play with them in the dirt or anything. They played on the porch, which we had a carpeted like porch, or inside. They did not touch the grass, the mud.
Oh yeah, no.
Because,
well, I'm saying too, like when it came to contact, I didn't do it that because I didn't want the paint to come off of them.
Oh no, and I did like light punches, and I didn't do this whole like when you imagine like when people talk about kids playing with the toys, they do this like like an ape. You're like, what kid play with the toys like that? But
that shit, man, it happens. I've seen kids do that, and
it would just scare me to death. Like the kids that would be like Sid in Toy Story, where they're just destructive with their toys.
Isn't it funny? We didn't even know each other as kids that young, and yet we both had the same ideals with how we played with toys and how we didn't want to mess any of them up.
Oh yeah, I think we were the best of pals back then too. I think because I was still into all this stuff in the '90s when Power Rangers was becoming real popular. Like I was watching Power Ranger, but I still loved He-Man, GI Joe, Turtles.
See,
You know.
I think we would have been friends to a degree when you probably would have been like, "Hey, can I play with that toy?" I would have been like, "No, it's mine."
Oh no, I had plenty of friends like that. Like Josh Rapp was like that a lot, where he had all kinds of great X-Men comics and Power Ranger figures, but you couldn't touch them. You couldn't look at any of them. You couldn't
Yeah,
trade them.
I was kind of stingy as a kid. No, I didn't trade because I would always regret
Regret.
it. I would instantly. I think I did that once with my neighbor Adam at the time. I traded one of my I think we traded Joe's, and I can't remember who I traded for what, but it was instant regret, and I was like, "Oh, can I have that one back?" And he was like, "No, I'm good, man." And I was like, "No."
I was forced to because I was never really regretful about doing trades for the most part because if I was doing a trade, it was for something I desperately wanted. And for the most part, I dealt with a lot of people who were like, I think I'd like to have it back. I remember trading Marvel Universe trading cards with Matt Hilton earlier in the day, and then he approaches me with his mom behind him saying, "Hey Tyler, I'd like to trade back cards." And I'm thinking his
Uh,
mom's behind him, like he's got his own bodyguard. I'm like, damn it,
yeah. Oh,
having to do.
once the parents get involved, you're kind of fucked. You're
Yeah,
like,
I'm
"All
like, I
right,
can't argue
trades
about this
off."
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
so just one of those things that I like to do, and I would trade with Matt a lot on comic books and occasionally action figures. But Derek and I would trade, and he would want to trade back a lot, and it's just one of those things. All right, fine. Because for me, I always felt more comfortable playing with a toy that was actually mine and not somebody else's, unless it was at a friend's house and it was just like be able to hold on to, like, wow, like I've never had him. Like, oh, I'd love to have him, but actually, like, sit down and set up in a full beginning, middle, and end battle. They had to be mine. That was the only way I could really enjoy playing with my GI Joes. Is that Cobra Commander has got to be mine. The Ice Cream Soldier has got to be mine. Like I could not deal with like Beachhead. It's got to be mine. It's just, I don't know why I thought like that, but as I got older, I didn't have Derek could play with my GI Joes with no problem at all, but me, I'm like, it has to be mine before I can have completely fun with it. I
I
don't
mean,
get it, but
yeah, I'd probably be the same way, honestly.
yeah, I guess it was more about like I don't have to give this back. This character's mine.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all mine. I can enjoy it because I don't have to give it back. So I guess that's part of the logic behind it. I used to wonder about that as a kid. Like, why can't I enjoy playing with Derek's GI Joes when he can clearly take mine, borrow them, and have no problem with it? So, but I hope everyone enjoyed our first episode of GI Joe. I hope it was as entertaining as some of the other stuff that we've done. I don't know what we'll do next week. We may go back and do some Batman next week. May do.
Hey, oh, I guess Jasper really liked that commentary.
I guess so. I guess
I'm
he
hearing
wanted to
him
hear
in the
more.
background. Yeah, but yeah,
We'll have
no,
to do one with Mutton Junkyard in it.
we'll probably jump around again because I just in the mail got Street Sharks and Cops, so maybe we can do some of that too.
Oh yeah, Cops is another kick-ass show from the '80s. Did you watch the intro yet, or looked it up on YouTube by chance?
I haven't yet. I'm
I
in
hate you.
between muting my mic to not have dog guest appearances on our show.
Thought you're a true fan.
No, but yeah, no, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh well, we might do Cops next week, or Justice League. We have yet to touch on Justice League. We haven't
Yeah.
done. I was trying to think of another series we haven't touched on yet. We got so much to choose from. Spider-Man '90s series, which I'm not inclined to really do because it just doesn't hold up that well to me anymore in terms of entertainment. But we'll noodle about and see what comes next week.
Yeah. It kind of caught me off guard with the dogs and everything. But if you enjoyed this, watching us for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Check down below in the description. I'll have some links for you to the Facebook page, our email address, and obviously the link there to rewatch, which you've already done. I'm just going in circles now.
Yeah. And if you liked our episode of G.I. Joe, this is your first episode. We have done Dino Riders. We've done Ninja Turtles. We've done Batman the Animated Series. We've done Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. We've touched on the Spidey Solo series of the 80s. So we're mixing it up with Marvel animation, DC animation. That's what we'll kind of stick to for the most part. There, we'll probably throw in a live action movie here and there, like the Batman '89 film, for an example. But if you like this episode, we've done a few more.
Yeah,
We'll
go
definitely
back
come
and
back to GI Joe.
yeah, go back
We'll
and
do
check out.
Transformers at some point too.
Yeah, check out all the previous episodes, and yeah, I'm gonna get that DVD set of GI Joes. There's way like the ads in that were just killing me.
Oh yeah, I couldn't. It's gonna be hard for me to do this commentary series without the actual episode uninterrupted. Unless it's got the traditional commercial bumpers like what I was watching there, that's fine. But where I could hear about the latest, you could save $100 from switching to Geico, and what's not real, my asshole.
Well,
I
I had L'Oreal commercials, and there was something else. I wasn't even paying attention to it. I was too busy like just listening to you.
no. Well, I'm glad I was there to help you zone out from having to deal with that nonsense.
But yeah, it was like 3 or 4 commercial breaks. So it's dumb. I thought if I started it, it had the ad. If I went to the end of it and there wasn't an ad, that maybe it wiped it all out. But it's like, no.
Yeah, because sometimes it feels like it does
yeah.
do that. But yeah. No, they gave us the middle finger. You got to watch our L'Oreal skin commercials. You go to hell.
So I'll get G.I. Joe and Transformers series completed on DVD. That way there's never an issue with those. The only thing we'll have to watch Daily Motion is the little obscure stuff like Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. And
when we'll be revisiting that series, I think a lot more back in later on in July too, and so we'll
with our special guest.
Yeah, when he arrives in late July, we'll have a more specific date as we get closer to that. We'll discuss that as it gets closer. So until next week. Hope you enjoy this, and we will see you next Saturday.
Catch you next Saturday.